Hey, welcome to Hannah and Zoe's Alaska podcast.
When we were in 7th grade, which was last school year, 20 kids in either the 7th or 8th grade got the chance to go to Alaska.
So, in this podcast, we are going to talk about our experiences and how we felt during those situations.
We went to the Buffalo airport, then we flew to Minneapolis. Then, from there, we landed in Anchorage, Alaska.
On the first night, we stayed in a hotel, and I didn't realize that the hotel would be the nice place we stayed during the duration of the trip.
I did not like the first hotel at all.
The first one was fine, but not amazing.
The first thing we did was go to the Anchorage Museum. We stayed there for a few hours. I really liked the museum.
It was very interactive and had a lot of different sorts of games.
Then we got back in the vans and went back to the hotel and just had quiet time until bed.
Then, the next morning, we had to wake up early because we had to drive to Matanuska Glacier, which was our campsite for that night.
Our leaders taught us how to set up our tents. I don't think that was that hard.
Once we got our tent set up, we got back in the vans and went to the hut that had the glacier hiking gear. We had to wear helmets and crampons.
Once we had our gear on, we had to go to their buses and go up to the glacier. Once we got there, we walked around on it. Then, once we were leaving, a kid named Kohler got stuck in the mud, which was like quicksand.
It was the best thing I've ever seen when Kohler got stuck in the mud.
Grace, Capola, and Kohler both fell in icy water holes.
Then we went back to the campsite and had dinner. After dinner, we split into different groups and went on hiking, and one went on a river walk. I did the river walk.
I also did the river walk. It was a lot of fun. We just walked in the water, but we had waterproof boots, so it was a lot of fun. And we skipped stones.
Then, after the river walk, we met up with the hiking group at the campsite. Then we all played hide and go seek around the camp, which was pretty big. That night was a lot of fun.
We woke up the next morning and packed up camp. We drove for a while to Seward. It was about a 4-hour drive.
On our drive, we got burgers, and we also went to see 2 glaciers.
We walked to a pavilion and wrote in our notebooks about our experience so far, and we slept the last hotel that we were going to sleep in that night.
Next day, we went on a boat, and a lot of people got seasick, but I was just playing card games the whole time. Grace Jacobs, Kohler, Jack Gerlin, Audrey Lawrence all got really sick, and they turned white or green.
Then, that night, we slept in a Sea Life Center, which is an aquarium. We slept in a room with the sea otters and puffin tanks on both sides of us. But when we got there, we got to explore the whole place and the touch tank, and no one else was there except for us.
I thought sleeping there was really cool, except for the puffins being loud.
Then, that morning, when we woke up, we packed up and went to another campsite near Denali National Park, but not in Denali. I did not like this campsite because of mosquitoes, but other than that, it was pretty good.
The bathroom was disgusting there.
We then went on a short walk there around the area.
Then we got back in the vans and drove to Denali National Park campsite. We stayed there for 4 nights.
The new campsite had canoes and a lot of space to play games, and has the nicest bathrooms out of the whole trip except for the hotels and the aquarium.
When we say nice, we mean there were showers and multiple stalls and trailers.
The first thing we did when we left was go hiking.
We didn't know how long the hike was going to be, but it turned out to be a 10-mile hike.
It was very long.
This was the night that Billy Palladino and Kohler Andrews fell out of their canoes into the water and got leeches, and Kohler tripped on a rock and cut his knee.
The next day, we went on a bus tour through the park. It wasn't that bad because we saw a lot of wildlife and we played games and Rubik's Cubes, but it was about 8 hours.
We stopped at the 4-hour point into the park and got to take a little walk and shop at the pit stop.
Then, that night after the bus, it started raining, but we still went to the ranger show. At the ranger show, a ranger of Denali Park talked to us about what they would do at the park.
The next day, we went on another hike. We hiked up Mount Healy, and it was 7 miles up. Then we came back down and went to a dog show. I thought this was really cool.
At the dog show, they let us pet the dogs and showed us how they use the dogs to pull sleds throughout the park during the winter.
Then we went back to our campsite and packed up all of our bags so that they would be ready for the morning.
Then we got up, had breakfast, and packed up our tents and everything.
Then we went shopping before we had to drive back to Anchorage.
It was a long drive back to Anchorage.
Once we were there at the airport, we boarded our plane and flew to Atlanta.
The flight was overnight, so our layover happened at like 3 in the morning.
Then, from Atlanta, we flew back home to Buffalo.
I think that this was a really cool and interesting experience.
I'm glad that our school gives us the opportunity to do this.
I am appreciative that Narden gave us this amazing opportunity and a chance to experience something that we usually would never have the chance to do.